Hello and welcome to NoCast by CMUBS, the podcast where knowledge meets inspiration. I'm your host, and I'm here to take you on a journey through ideas, insights, and stories that shape the world of business, research, and innovation. Each episode, we bring you thoughtful conversations, practical wisdom, and perspectives from experts and changemakers. Whether you're a student, a researcher, or simply someone who loves learning, this is your space to explore, grow, and stay inspired. Thank you for tuning in. Let's dive into today's episode and discover something worth knowing.
All right, today we're going to dig into a huge question for any business trying to sell internationally. When a crisis smacks you in the face, is going all in on digital always the right move? Some really fascinating new research suggests the answer we all assume is right might be dead wrong, and we're about to find out why. So let's just jump right in. Think about it. When a crisis like a global pandemic hits, what's the first thing everyone says? Go digital, right? It feels like the only option. Get online, sell online, survive online. But what if that big bet doesn't always pay off? The pandemic really kicked off this digital gold rush. All of a sudden, if you were a small or medium-sized business, you felt this incredible pressure. The message was loud and clear. Digitize everything, right now, or you might just disappear. To get to the bottom of this, researchers zoomed in on a perfect case study, the small and medium enterprises, or SMEs, of Thailand. And let me tell you, these businesses are the absolute engine of the country's export economy. And when I say engine, I am not kidding. Get this, an incredible 99.5% of all businesses in Thailand are SMEs. This isn't just some small slice of the pie, it is the pie. It's the entire business landscape. And their impact is just as massive. We're talking more than a third of the nation's GDP. And get this, they employ 2/3 of the entire workforce. So you can see why, when these businesses face a crisis, the whole country feels it. Getting the strategy right isn't just important, it's critical. And the pressure wasn't just coming from the market, you know? The Thai government was right there, pushing these businesses to nearly double their exports. And how were they supposed to do it? You guessed it, by pouring tons of resources into digital programs. The entire national strategy was betting big on digital. Okay, so the stage is set, right? The path forward seems crystal clear. But this is where the story takes a wild turn, and where everything we thought was common sense gets flipped on its head. So the researchers looked at 174 of these exporting businesses. And the logical assumption, the one we'd all make, is that the companies that went all in on digital, the ones using every platform for marketing, for sales, for everything, they'd be the ones crushing it, right? Their export numbers should be through the roof. Yeah, that is not what they found at all. In fact, they discovered the complete opposite. The study found that going super hard on digital platforms actually lowered their export intensity. In plain English, the more a company relied on digital tools, the smaller the slice of their revenue came from selling abroad. Going all in was actually hurting their international sales. And this chart just paints the perfect picture. You can see things like persistence gave a nice positive boost to export sales, but look at that bar for intensive digital use. It's negative. The very tool that everyone was told would be their savior was actually the one that backfired. So this just leaves one giant question hanging in the air, doesn't it? If pouring all your time and money into digital platforms wasn't the secret, then what in the world was? What really worked for these businesses when things got tough? Well, the good news is the research didn't just blow up a popular myth. It also gave us the answer. The study pointed to 3 core capabilities, let's call them superpowers, that the successful exporters all had in common. And here they are. The businesses that really thrived were the ones that focused on their ability to innovate, their persistence in exporting, and their knack for acquiring new knowledge. These were the real drivers of success, not how many social media accounts they had. So let's quickly unpack these. Export persistence might sound a little academic, but it's really simple. It just means sticking with it, not dipping your toe in and out of international markets, but being consistent and building relationships. Knowledge acquisition is just a fancy way of saying they were great listeners and learners. And innovation is, it's innovation, adapting. These fundamental skills were the real deal. Okay, so what does this all mean for you and your business? Well, the big lesson is that there is no magic bullet. Strategy is not one size fits all. But what this research does give us is a really clear playbook for matching what you do to the market you're actually in. And the key is to first understand your environment. Are you in a pretty stable, predictable market? The researchers call that low uncertainty. Or is everything volatile and chaotic, like, during a global crisis? That's high uncertainty. And the right strategy is completely different depending on which world you're living in. And here is that playbook. Look, in a stable market, the best thing you can do is learn from your existing relationships. But check this out. What actually hurts you in that situation? Going too hard on digital platforms. It becomes a distraction. Now, flip it. In a chaotic, high uncertainty market, what wins? Persistence and being familiar with multiple platforms so you can be agile. It's not about mastering one, it's about having options. So, we can boil this all down into a simple 3-step game plan. First, be honest about your market. Is it calm or is it chaos? Second, based on that answer, choose the right capabilities to focus on. And third, and this is the big one, build your foundational skills like innovation and relationships before you try to scale up with a bunch of digital tools. The lesson from all this is so powerful because it's so simple. It's not about the fancy new tools. It's about having the right strategy first. The tools are only there to serve your strategy, not the other way around. And hey, the researchers themselves summed it up perfectly. They said that small businesses should focus on growing those fundamental, conventional capabilities, like innovating, being persistent, and learning, because that's what truly drives performance in the long haul. So we'll leave you with this question to think about for your own business. Are you just doing digital because you feel like you're supposed to? Or are you building a real strategy first and then picking the right tools for the job? As this research shows, the difference between those two approaches could be everything.
Thank you for joining us on NoCast by CMUBS. We hope today's episode sparked new ideas and inspired your next steps. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to follow our podcast and stay connected so you won't miss the insights, stories, and meaningful discussions coming up next. Until then, keep learning, keep exploring, and see you in the next episode.